I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for coming, and welcome to the 12th installment of the I Think I Can't Speak for Everyone Here reading series. This is a reading series for writers, people who have written, are writing, or for who I think should be writing. Though poetry is kind of my way of pleading with form to take away shape. This is a writer's space, so vignettes, silences, songs, poems, excerpts from novels, stories, whatever, anything from the part of you that writes down the world is welcome, and it's your space. Whether reading or not, you can turn your camera on or off to your comfort level. I will ask, keep your audio off when the readers are reading. If you do have something to say that about something I'm not seeing or whatever, definitely drop it in the chat. You can direct message me in the chat to sign up for the open mic afterwards as well. Just give me your name, any pronunciation notes, and then say you want to be part of the open mic. With that, I think I'll go ahead and introduce our featured reader, Medha Singh. Medha Singh is a poet, translator, and editor. She is editor of Berfra London. Medha is the winner of the New Writers Award 2023 from the Scottish Book Trust. She has published a work of translation, a collection of love letters that she translated from the French, penned by Indian modernist painter Syed Haider Raza during his time in France, called I Will Bring My Time, Love Letters by S.H. Raza. Her work has appeared in Irish Pages, Bad Lilies, The Robert Graves Review, Interpret, Almost Island, Hotel, 3 a.m., Indian Quarterly, the Bombay Literary Magazine, Poetry at Sangam, the Charles River Journal, among others. Her work has been anthologized in Singing in the Dark from Penguin in 2020, the Galant's Book of South Asian Science Fiction from Hatchet in 2021, Contemporary Indian Poetry by Younger Indians from Sahitya Akademi 2020, Best Indian Poetry 2018, RLFPA editions, Divining Dante, recent work press 2021, Future Library Contemporary Indian Writing, Redham Press 2022, Converse Contemporary English Poetry by Indians from Penguin Random House 2022, the Best Asian Poetry from Kitab 2022. Her work has been translated into Hindi, Spanish, and French. Her interviews have appeared on the websites of the Pablo Neruda Foundation, Chile, Narrow Books, Boston, POV Denmark, Queen Mob's Tea House, London, and JCAM, Massachusetts, among others. Medha was longlisted for the Toto Funds the Arts India in 2019 and 2020. She took her MSc in creative writing from the University of Edinburgh. Her collection of poems, Afterbody, is slated to launch in 2025 through Blue Diode Press, Edinburgh. I came to Medha's work through another writer on Twitter, actually. What I love about Medha's work is the kind of brutal arrival of its verse, which is often a tender invite given to both farness and nearness, that they eat from and drink to the same image. And with that, I'm super excited to give Medha the spotlight and excited to have you hear them read.
Okay. Thank you, Barton, for having me today. I'm quite excited to be here. It's been a long time since I've read to on an American platform. So staying in the UK in Edinburgh, it feels like I'm traveling far away, which is nice. This first poem, it's called Another Life, and it's about, I think, wishing for a time when we were simpler creatures, simpler still than before the big bad thing in our lives happened. Another life. I'm writing love on a serviette as mourners gather on a mound for the disgraced dead, still in grave clothes underfoot. Suddenly, slow pianos sing in air, the shifting earth moving its cadavers to an ache in the ocean. Here they are, the wretched reborn as willows, contorted into pains they don't recognize. Bad men become trees. The earth forgives them, as do I. They begin to give. The wicked also dream of love. They know darkness overhead means night before and night behind, yet drops of starlight have shot through earth's evening. Overhead, jinkos have fled against sun, evening over tarmac, evening beneath lorries, where dogs huddle for warmth, and for miles on end the quiet noise of town. And at the end of that last mile, me, pouring the syrup on a napkin. Things I cannot say yet. Oh, pianos, oh love, how we begin to open under black water. Um, the next poem is called I Hear Father is Dead in Another Country. One is as old as the days they remember. Some make us age quicker, better. Some slow in pace, something between a wish and a prayer, something that is both. Some call it hope. Light sweeping the white sand across the cool and quiet sea. Here I feel his consoling hand on my face, fast arriving, a withered brow, reaching, touching, brown, low. The sound of a breath follows one here, to a world ebbing in the cormorant's lair. He will never now come to comb my hair to save me from the wrong affairs. There the long shroud falls from the sky, drops upon his corpse, makes its way to the pyre. Loud ash from other burning bodies flying in my sister's hair. Somewhere unknown among the birds, one will find his verse. This black hearse roots in my bones, on a continent far, too far from home. Palm fronds rustle, my eyes close, my tousled head is made of clouds. Um, there was on I think a couple of years ago they celebrated uh, the Dante trilogy's 700th birthday, and I was commissioned to write how to say a take on the three books, the Inferno, the Purgatorio, and the Paradiso. So in some moments I've tried to grasp the narrative intensity of the speaking voice. But at moments, what I've chosen to focus on is the imagistic, impressionistic spaces. The traveling Dantes, the voicing Dantes, really struggling kind of tense voice has managed to create, and it's a magical place for me because it's a place of peace in the struggle, and those are the things that save us in the end. Inferno. This is Chaco's voice. To find a familiar as though one were a witch making their way through violent, energetic dimensions, to see all suffer in the dark marshes. Tell me, is he still your enemy or now friend against the equalizing talk of death, of after death? In my suffering, he suffers as I. Does he still, in that black world, need his lesson? Jaco, who predicts the victory of tyrants within 3 hot suns, did you not once dream of love? Do the wicked not also dream of love? Francesca. Francesca, dearest, the things they accuse you of, jealousy, lust, incest, vanity, fie to all. Your sin was none but to forsake the myths of your fathers. It was wanting life to be all your own. You were the hero seeking absolution in your own private hell. Desire does that for us, sets us free. And love, it makes in us something of the pure. Oh, Francesca, would you have taken this poem pilgrim and seen your face in his, if I found you before Paolo, if I held you in my eyes, you have done this before. Do it again. Soft as a dove, I come. Be vain, I implore you. Beatrice can wait. Cerberus, three-mouthed fiend, forever famished. What do I do but cry for the pain you endure? And what do I do but see into your sixth eye, find your soul, and there it is, a cracked reflection of the Holy Trinity. Purgatorio. What one would give to be loved in the way that they have loved. Always the same tragedy. The romantics left to suffer the basic, pragmatic. I see you, Dante. Even in your dreams, you're dreaming of her. So remote is she. Yet your spirit never tires of the same hallucination. Balancing will against destiny on the strange shore, your might grows weary, but you know it not. Is she so different from any shade here? Halt, a voice goes. It is time for concert. Gacella begins to chant, to croon. He must ease the pain of your living soul. Hear of the exodus, damned princess, you who enslaved and on earth wrung all life out. I sing, he moans, so you return to grace. So you know rapture, and yet must I always humiliate myself, contending against heavenly song, playing eternal and open on that wide heavenly slope? Dante, it is God we always return to, and only for a moment. We find ourselves seduced by the beauteous. I warn you, hear this tale. Belacqua, ignorant of his affliction, with apatheia looming over his changing fate, even he, pilgrim, has come to marvel at your shadow. Such is beauty's grasp here. Wishful, distant. Manfred and his sheep, an undulating thousand burn within, appear as a soapy ocean tide of outcasts. With the same song they wait. I helm this world, though Cato may believe otherwise. I do it for you. Must we begin again to begin again? Local wardens only keep to their business, never knowing what to tell us. It is I who does, Dante. Listen, lightly, ascend. Paradiso. On this cool, wrinkled soil, I step in with tired feet into that remote geometric infinity of a new world. My mind goes blank. I'm dreaming with eyes open. A flame then cool like a weapon, I am being forged in Hephaestus' chamber. Look at this ruffled creature, a mountain no less, from foot to peak. It once barked at me, and all about the nature of sin, all about its proximity to love. Only earthly, though. My chest has in it a premonition, some sense of how it all becomes heavenly, no matter how earthly. How do I know? I surmise it all. By my ear there is a flowing mouth, a glow untethered to the light within Virgil's frame. He emboldens my fatiguing will, renews it, as though love were all but that. Have we come so far, poet, only to come so far? To be left alone again? By the 14th trial, with my hand in Virgil's, I was blinded by the flaring power of a million splendors, heavy upon my irises, and after, by the 28th, I recast my gaze over my comrade, this time with an unfamiliar tenderness, as though it were him. Is God finally a poet, weaving the word into the world, or is she a pilgrim, casting life all around, wherever there is night? The kernel of all that makes us good is a speckle defeating the dark. It follows us that hold on to our goodness, and we that let it not be disturbed by the deficient or the perverse, by the cowardly or meek. These conditional modes of love. I guard this goodness in me. It's not mine to ruin. It belongs to Beatrice. Goodness is knowing that we all pass among the passing, as things and beings pass all and another eternally. It was noon at the previous gate. I was ready for the stars. At the seventh light, now, a line becoming a circle, slow becomes a line. Should I go on? All right. Okay. This is the title poem of my forthcoming book. It's a book of absences. It's called Afterbody. Afterbody. This isn't about your clothes. Can't be a long robe. Leisure. I hear the word and feel a strange lightness coming on. I plucked silver and grey feathers, your proud plumage, from the bowels of the Almirah, interiors redolent with turpentine, aging wood, swinging mahogany doors wafting the family's scent. I opened them, long arms of diaphanous light, voyaged through years of your youth to mine, and opened my dry mouth, blind swarm of silverfish, cloaked in grief. I choked in grief, could have fallen, grew faint, as I removed articles of clothing from the dark, which meant courting relief. Relief, for I breathed and knew I breathed. You were there and weren't. From your afterbody I began, restlessly, to pluck out shirts, cufflinks, silk and linen handkerchiefs, peacoats, cravats, bandies, kurtas, jackets, a parka, old lockets for a slender neckline. You weren't always fat. Shards of starched cloth, old rags marking days when I walked into the house, my footprints in the blood you drenched, now encrusted, sanguine, pied stains turned ruddy on cotton. Blood does not change color on silk. Father, first man, now a scent I cannot bear. How did you leave this fight unfinished? Who were I to be against in the absence of your madness? All this decadent solitude. Look, I know death is not what I smell. Death are the dead that don't. Something more lighthearted, I suppose. This poem was called Baby Orhan. It was named after my French teacher's little boy was 2, and he used to walk into our French lessons and disrupt the entire session. But it was great because he had Hindi, English, and French in him, and as a 2-year-old, he'd make sentences with words from all 3. Baby Orhan has learned to walk into my French lessons. Head like a planet on springs, his face a peach reddening in the spring breeze. He is my teacher's boy. We want the same things. More words, language games. I teach him how to name objects. Think of the day he will put a word to his first complex feeling. To teach him something else. He may know it already. All about things that are not themselves without our fingers gliding over their certain presence. Take bookshelves. They mean nothing without what we, in time, come to find soft or heavy. You will feel it all, not long from now. Beneath a deep cadmium sky, a quiet pulse of the past mixed with light residue of some forgotten pain, surfacing, thinning out of his body, gentle and still as a quiet stallion, brushing flies off its rump with its long black tail. Everything leaving him. He will feel it as muslin pulled through a gold ring. A river nearby, its gentle sobbing. Now about to plunge into the quiet limit, his soul its soul to find itself neck deep in the slow dawn, beginning to know his world from the rest, the translucent pleasure foaming at his feet as a wave upon some plain southern beach. Slow death and backward crawl upon its first and last moment of giving and living. Without the right touch, we're inert, heavy. Life imbued by human will is brimming in his father's eyes, given they're both alive, and Orhan knows. Their bodies through thrash and yearn, to long and love, to long for it, and always find it in an embrace. Once we begin to undo ourselves, we free everything from significance, becoming free of things well past their significance. The milk going sour in an ex's fridge, cheese wilting to a cerulean blue, dendrites and all in your own. What's a Margosa branch slapping a window all night in the storm, when behind it a wailing woman is mid-birth? A man morose with the death of his mangy dog, and yet what is another woman's despair, who has lived on a boat and saw her child drown on their way to another green world. Always a crack in the rafters somewhere, sounds of an orchestra settling against polished wood, aging the ceiling of a time-worn concert hall. I teach Orhan to name things. He dervishes, walks, and knows already the heady trance of utter joy. He knows all that I cannot name. Bodies. We are not our bodies. We are the places we place them. We are uneasy, bellicose, we are seized. We are how we are, placed and chased within plots of chance, of circumstance. We are close, but never enough. When apart, it's us and the dance. This um this was a very kind of 10-part long poem that I wrote in about 20 minutes in a frenzy in 2019. And it just kept growing, and I've had parts of it published everywhere, but it's never been published in its entirety. And this tells me I should never read it in its entirety. It's only digestible in bits, but I am a maximalist. So it's difficult to write short poems these days for me. Viscera, blood fragments, 1. Wind flattening the slim, cool wood by night. They arrive at day, angels sprung from ancient soil. Men in hordes like buffaloes, shirtless, marching on. A stampede irons out a civilization. The sun shines through genocide and fire. They pluck the charcoal and emerald mess for its best. Trunk and bark thrown back against muscle and bruise. Shoulder by shoulder, brown carcasses carted to the atelier, been sung to all the way to their lorries. You'd think such craftsmen have hearts thumping against their backs from within, that they could shiny up a hull, well shaved, carved to a definite stop. You think of Kayabot's floor scrapers, men without faces, without worry. Listen, they glisten with sweat and dignity. Throwing a nude arm of wood, then another into the shaver, cutter. Pile on pile become door and table. Door by door they fit, so exquisite, in homes of the future. Now a row of houses lining a sunlit street. Watch water rub rock to boulder, time cook wood to coal, families sutured into homes, and day comes again. A loose entrance frame swings slow on its hinges. Something is born between all that is known and not, when in its rasp you feel your head go quiet in the gale, waiting for a train. 2. A toothless body drops to a point as it falls through the mouth of a volcano into the center of the earth. A depth coughing amber bone, sea. Time softening human faces to ceramic ash. Forgiveness has lifted a veil to the thing you now call an uncertain grief. Everything disappearing and you left praying in the safe house of anger. The grooves of memory distract you. Every now and then, early aughts, Bengali market, the sun whipped our faces with fire, just us there, sister and sister, recalling our standard order a decade ago. Where it all went. Somnolent breeze, cluck and claver of childhood, outings with parents. Well, mother anyway. Father always interested in conversations with others, anything but us or what was ours. In a time gone, pink sun reddening Ma's hair, her breath quickening with love. Mera beta. Yet other words measured with caution. We were all a bit afraid of father. The routine cooing of a toddler nearby. Now cry. In a moment, a flicker of tenderness came settling on my sister's face. Was real and not announcing itself as she extended her arms to arrest a small body in momentum, falling quicker than what we begin to know how. The crack of a little skull about to interrupt the afternoon. A goddess, a messiah, which, in carrying him, lets a boy grow into a brooding old man. What women do, history, biology, evolution, civilization, who we are, is present in that first impulse, all in the forward jerk of a hand as it grips the gaze of a nervous child, mid-mischief, mid-euphoria. Three. You learnt the word eviscerate when you first glanced human viscera. A man lay dying, but not all dead outside the hospital gate. Christ bled on the wall as the man's arm convulsed and swung off the stretcher like a rope over a well. A head wet with blood bisected by nature's knife, brains and bilge flowered on, a body near docked by the shore for Charon. Contretemps at a construction site, a phrase you saw at the back of your mind. Hemic disaster. Words sloped downward, dripped crimson, and doctors with their all-seeing eye, medical and weary, seemed to have only one way to see what I saw. We were told such cases mattered little. They declared couples dead before, lodged them as injuries by suicide in reports, when it was well and clear that a village had conspired to hang the two off a tree, these strange fruits of the East. Ours are not the shores of Ilium, love is not free. Turning to us now, the doctor asked, do you send an entire dwelling to the gallows for the death of two? By which he meant, a good citizen can't always be good or true. So let the grief of a devastated conscience turn them into Christ. So let them suffer. So let them die. 4. A poet once heard his own blood singing in its prison. I am so unlike him. Exhume my heart. It exhales effluvia. Cut me open, I smell like Asia. In the face of another's rage, it's best to offer a drink of water. Be well reasoned. Reinstate that old phrase, a bloody catastrophe, not treason. Night after night, dreams, tuned to madnesses, are corralled into a file. Think of the dream where you carried a dying Cossack on your back into the Indian sun, drew the winter out of his bones, holding Dostoevsky, warmed his blood, made it your own. How do you love men that are dead and gone? Keats' silken letters in the crook of your arm, Fez is flitting by, a book under his arm. But Medha, a book, for whom? Seeing glimpses of their faces in the faces of alien men, and for that wanting to marry all of them, never telling one about the other, turning one then another into father, mother, and brother, all this while being the other. 5. A man stood outside my door in the white summer, barking the words, donation drive, As the heat flooded the house, warming the marble floor, rosebud afternoon blotting out a lingering thought at the back of my skull, I stood in the building, a building stood in me, sinking into a lull. A cow's tail in the distance brushed the flies off its rump. I was home alone, alone. Raqt, he ejaculated. Raqtadan, he clarified. A donation of blood. He was really just begging, brewing, riven by time. One can't donate something in urgent need. Someone always does need blood, you drew. Whoever thought it venial to allow strange men to knock on women's doors, asking them for the very and one thing that is still their own. No, not even time. To call upon our conscience when least expected, in Delhi's infernal bunker. I slipped on a garment, the needle now splitting my skin, I unraveling, my blood coming loose. 6. The world zipping itself up, a sky made of ice, the ground beneath your feet turns into water. Thales points to the nature of things, body, mind, vegetable, flower, all sluice into water. A leopard is born in the savannah. A cathedral crumbles down in a sinner's dream. A woman lights a candle on the mantle, prepares for seance. A writer notices all good poems and stories bear sunlight. His room bright and silent, littered with paper. A crow perches on the back of a cow, grazing among the plastics behind a temple. An empty nest is brushed by a breeze on a deodar branch. Dew turns to honey by the kiss of an old god. A row of gulmohar trees made of quartz line a street in Delhi. A man, a woman, in 5 minutes, they will hold hands for the first time. A boy's family has gone to work. He closes the window against a storm. A tribal group in the forest dancing when no one looks. Fire, night. A year passes, has passed, then another, then more, all at once. Now folding into a triangle, now becoming a napkin. Cattle and kine huddle together. A quiet village goes about its day. 7. Who was that man scavenging for orange peels in the trash? I waited for him before the school bus some mornings, when I didn't miss it. I stood watching the women that looked through him, men gathering their children away from the mad fool. This guy, I thought, saw a hole in the fabric, and none quite believed him. What obsession does to a man is well known. Shunned. Dr. Physics here, they said, was a good professor, family man, handsome too, by a certain standard. Undone by love and science, what did he learn, peering through the rip in time? No coincidence that insanity and insaniyat are phonetically close. Sorry, insaniyat is the Urdu word for humanity. 8. The destruction of art is also art. The sun combs the earth's gardens, and sister thinks it's too much. Too much light is not the right kind. My newest friend, a yogini, is sure to release her vivid mind like an arrow to the point of true knowing. It is Raza's bindu or point, who sends half-made horses, his canvases, carrying me from dream to dream, until one turns up at my door. My mother's best friend lived in Canada. She trained horses for the Olympics, sending them to me from an afterlife. In dreams, she is galloping into the distance, her hair trailing auburn as she hurtles away to a point in the dark. I think of her wrists, beads of sweat gathering around them. I think of my mother, hunched over her writing desk. My mother who wept when she read in a letter that Auntie F had written her way over to the other side. I draw a wrist I imagine was hers and never finish drawing the hand. Cacography. An old typewriter given to mother by her father, now on my table. Still in use for all this. The first letter I ever loved, from Auntie Francesca, who lived in Montreal. Her horse is near her still. Years ago, there was the year of no internet and night-long tempests. when my mother's family gathered. 4 brothers, 2 sisters, lying in wet sand against the torque of the ocean, strewn across a land rich with oil and no war yet. Ma, unknown to the house, about to wear her curtains next. Should we stop here? Or shall I go on? Any questions?
No, you can absolutely continue with the what was that? You said there were 10 parts for that?
Yeah, I just read the 8H. The other two I'm not so sure about.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, whatever you're comfortable with, but I mean, I think that yeah, we need more maximalists in in poetry. But yeah, if you're comfortable reading the last 2 parts, that's fine. If not, I'm good with whatever. What do
They travel into another long poem that's going to kind of be the second half of my next book, which is about 30 pages long, the poem itself.
Okay.
So I'm quite unsure of it because I'm not sure whether to end this poem with it or begin the next one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want you to speak anything aloud that is going to change your process.
No, it's all in the public domain anyway.
Oh, okay.
But it's just the sectioning and the ordering of things. It's not anything else. And we're at the final stages of developing the manuscript before it goes into print soon. So
Okay.
I don't want to make any clear declarations, but I guess the poem's allowed to develop organically. And
Okay.
let's just say later in time that it was organic. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Airy, 3 sections. Movement 1. Furrowing sound over the balcony. Bird song and regret. The breeze with its fine toes in the Ashoka trees, emerging from the northern pines. Weeks through years sliced by its whistle. I toy, tongue a pomelo I picked from the fruit seller's cart under mizzle monsoon. He kisses the minarets that flicker in my eyes always running westward as they tumble into fog that roils over tombs, sun still beating down on red rock and rain, soft prick of water on a boy's arm. Look, doves begin flying against the sound of school children who now circle the sundial by the busy highway. Midday susurration of trees in easy winter light. I am again, slow to wake within the folds of a hoary December afternoon, from a dream like a blurred negative of a lost world. A time where a kiss once lingered in the moment was summoned at will. I can be in it. Children soaped by women, lovers feeding them dates without worrying over the waltz, the deficiency, all this crock about our love being deeper and its need grander as we fall through the seasons to the welter of our lives, to grow unfit for social smiles, to find the world teetering along, eternally jejune, yet not any more than ourselves, to scoff at guileless youth, to move onward, yet never move on. Memory, blurring against shadow, against shadow, against silence. Bodies wake, squally creatures thrashing in time's fishing net. What has grown will never grow again. Kelp and horse by the river. We marvel at the miracles among the noisy plains, the rustle of twisting trees stretching outward in the mustard light. I say to the dog stretching in prayer with its forelegs in offering, and to the gloaming, here I stand, with an egg and an egg, feeding one mouth, so feeding all. I ascend. I stand on a tower. The Yamuna River swells through traffic, verdure, concrete, separating heat from wind, breath from parking lots, Goodbye, I say. She waves and throbs. I make tracks, cut through fern, gaze across motorways for signs of life. I arriving in cafes and tombs with infinite names in a place with many. Hastinapur, Indraprastha, Dehalvi, Delhi. Your arms, eyes, your body. They become home and habitat, trading in 1,000 histories and tongues. A game. The fear of death is not the fear of death, but of a certain loss of pleasure, a certain threat to the page. Pause, breathe, fall through August rain, age. Whispers, whispers echoing in the deep, marrowless halls of the skeleton. Whispers ushering current through narrow alleyways. Stirring whistles advance and violet shadows rush within the hollow bones of masculine boys that throng with a great slap of palm against palm and thwack of leather ball against hard bat. Torrents, a heat wave upon another, breaking against the unrelenting resolve of young men sorry, pregnant with dreams of supereminence, noble, preternaturally masculine, rippling spirits as flags on high, shoulders with bones, chests with bones, the hollows of their eyes. They stretch the afternoons of my years long. No one ever seems to win the match. Feather, swivel slow to the ground, off the sunny terrace, all the way down, hurtles on in its menace of a life, on this easy, quiet town. No floating, neither zigzag nor wide curl, drops, drops straight, crowns downward, whirls a hole in the thick air, opening a center of gravity that wasn't there, entering life's machinery, determined to enter its fate at your feet, where the sun is drowned, firmly, without a sound. Wake from a Rabelaisian dream, and search in the dark for his luminous forehead. Find his bright tongue with yours. He's sweating in his sleep. He's half asleep. Casting his spindly broad chassis, he mirrors the rhythm of your breath, your dancing shoulders. He finds the music for the moment. The sonata collapses as the dream. You're left on your back, finger drawing circles over his spine as he lies adjacent, breathing on his stomach, the sea glittering against the shore of this world. Somewhere else it's flinging light on our dry faces. It is the sea, bright green tinted glass, floating upon itself. Breaks the day, breaks the breeze, breaks your discipline. You are late for everything. Do I still have time? Right. Begin. Begin the noise again. The fleeting, dangling, falling rain, the hobbling dog, the homeless god, throwing a foot forward and afar, a language slain. Bit by bit they've made the trek. Once they were all tall men, having beaten speed backwards to have found the finished sparrow, excavated the story of the city's beginning. She had no extremities, no outer limits, only the sound of the scratch on the door, the scratch on the window, only the most frightening scratch on the window, as the last man on earth found himself alone again, in this fog, on this green round shade, the wind that bid, adieu, adieu, it said, it whistled, come in. The moon beams infinite blades of light into the night over a stampede. Its hungry mouths and bare feet, our own grand exodus of every man parting the city. Children crossing forests to get home, chewed up by beasts and maggots on the trail. He saw how things changed so quickly, quickly only to change back to the color the things with no color, things already and forever reconfiguring, white rose withering to a cold brown, a red one to a thin paper thin, purpling. It stained a souvenir, a napkin, while the bottle brush loomed overhead to be shed in February. The silviculture slept by the church, the Gurudwara, that fed and fed this eon's wretches till its last sigh. How the bottle brush hangs about us, over us, now, like an omen. They stand, here they stand, unfit, a tad too sensitive to peachy sundowns, dog and god, homeless together day after day, beneath starless, smoggy nights, but for the subtle call of the great white speckle, Venus masquerading as a North Star. Here they are, asking, why are you here? Half breathing, half beating heart. That closes the first movement of the poem. And there are two more that maybe we should stop and chat for a bit.
Nope. Sorry, I'm sometimes technically delayed. But yeah, thank you so much, Medha. That was beautiful. I thank you so much for being a place, being a body, for naming things, for you know, that ebbing world, those cracked reflections of the Trinity that kind of populate the doubled world or plague the doubled world. But thank you so much for being here today, and for owning the space, and for you know, reading what you needed to read. With that, I will go ahead and open up the people we have for the open mic, to go ahead and get started with that. I think for the first person we have is Scott Elder. I'll go ahead and give them the spotlight and see if they want to go ahead and read.
Scott, maybe you want to start your video and unmute yourself.
I'm trying. Can you hear me?
I can
Yep.
hear you. Yeah.
Now I can hear you.
Let's see. Everything seemed to be working a while back, and let's see. Arrêtez le vidéo.
Maybe you want to start your video. Click start your video.
It says apparently it's working, and then it says, this is in French. It says close the arrêtez la vidéo, and if I do that, of course, there's a line that goes through the video. Oh, wait a second.
Click it again so the line disappears.
I just did.
Oh my.
Oh, geez.
Well, let's just hear your voice. I mean, it should be, you know, I think what's happening is that your camera is off, and that's probably going to have to go into settings. And because if if there's no red line and we can't see you, that would suggest your camera is off.
I see. Okay. Well, first, I just wanted to say how fortunate I feel to be here tonight, to be able to listen to that reading, and that was unimaginable. And I was going to read two short poems, but after that reading, I'm going to try something else, and it's a poem that's entitled "At Once the River," and it was inspired by the 5 underground rivers of Greek mythology. Lethe would be the first one, river of oblivion. Acheron, the second one, river of woe. Phlegethon, river of fire. Cocytus, river of lamentation. And finally, the river Styx. So it would come in these 5 parts. At once the river, when her breath became a sigh, we entered, incandescent, 2 bodies cut flat, dark water, warm, embracing each pore, deepness, a thrill, loosening our grip. I touched her hand, it stained my own. Twilight colors, she said. She spoke in shreds, eternity filled each lisp and slur. I listened, host and guest, till the river became our savior, and slumber, my lord. 2. Her hand was ancient as water itself, ankles, knees, belly, waist. The river swelled to meet her lips. What shadow is this that spills me here? Bitterness dripped from the tips of her hair. She smiled once and then forever, as if meeting a forgotten lover. What shadow is this that links me so? A warmth, familiar as a scent remembered, a breath, fleeting, a river sliding, the whole of it beyond her reach, as might an echo in mist. 3. How long did she sleep? Certainly not an eternity. After all, she's here, is she not? As miracles go, a river might turn into a sea of milk. This one's blood and fire howling. She strips to her feet, follows her steps to the river's edge, and leaps, eyes raging. Rosie's no different from fire or water. This she knows. 4. Everything, the room, bed, her hands and thoughts, dissolved in sound, a roar, a storm, in a bell jar's grip, and poof, she's ankle deep in tears. The river wails to no avail. She's deaf, and only feels the body slip deeper and deeper. The water fills her emptiness and leaves her tender as a newborn nymph. 5. Dusk or dawn, whichever, sun's an abstraction. The ferryman too. There is a bank, and on it she kneels. This is no river. Her thoughts stir like bubbles rising. The morass is thick of them. Each shoulder's a murmur. Kiss your index to feel its presence. No finger, no lips. Breathless comes the ferryman. Breathless she steps in. That's it.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. We didn't need to see you anyway. There was enough to see in those words. So thank you for sharing. And with that, I think we have one more person for the open mic. Carla Serret. Go ahead and give them the spotlight.
Well, I'm just going to read one short piece since
Oh, sure.
we're running long on time. This is from my new manuscript. I have fallen in love with the paintings that Thomas Gainsborough did of his daughters and followed the stories of Margaret and Mary, very tragic stories. And this is a letter from Margaret Gainsborough to her sister, 1780. It's called Drowning. That green shadowed afternoon in our garden, a stranger hurled us into a well of forgotten coins. We huddled for days until we flew up into pewter air. Now I lie on your bed alone and stare at wallpaper. It could be sky, it's blue enough. Father told me of a new invention from across the ocean. A lens. You can see both near and far. I don't need it. I see you in Mayfair in your furnished rooms. The velvet cushions sag. Men have stained them. You're down to your last candle. There is no fire. Your husband hands you his soiled cloak. You feed him gruel for dinner, the same as yesterday and the long day before. There are many hours before morning. You used to breathe so easily, my sister, back when there was air. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Carla. That was a poems that have a last line like that have to stick the landing, and you did. Thank you for being part of the open mic. Thanks everyone here for being here today. I am going to close it out. I'm going to read a poem from Ruth Awad's new collection called Outside the Joy, and then I'll let everyone get out of here. This poem is called Moral Inventory. What good is your goodness really if it is undone as soon as it begins? I flew over an ocean slicked with plastic. I am still afraid of whales, even though I know they are choking on our trash. I had money in my pockets from a job of casual corporate unkindness and gave it to anyone who asked. I want to be a better animal. I want to love what I can while I can. My dogs who caught in the grass, a song that fills my cup and gallops me under a hunter's moon. So what if I snag in her antlers? I once had a body that wasn't a body. It was a voice in a god's mouth. I was the holy vowel. O animal, I thank you. O flank, O wanting gut, say it matters. Tell me to begin again. Tell me, and I will. And with that, go ahead and let everyone get out of here. Again, thanks everyone for being here. The recording of the event will be on the YouTube channel within a day or so. I'll go ahead and share that at the time. Again, Medha, thanks so much for being here. That was a wonderful reading, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Stay tuned. We've got a whole bunch of readings this September and October as well. And love y'all. Have a good night.